morning, my YouTube viewers. It's Crystal here. This video, we're going to be covering Lesson 5 of my free intermediate Excel course. Basically, if you're not on the intermediate level, then you should go ahead and take my basic Excel course, which is also free, and it is in the playlist on my channel. So there is a basic Excel course that you should take that course before you take the intermediate Excel course. So this is lesson 5 of the intermediate Excel course. And what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about date and time functions, because you can work with date and time in Excel. And so you should already know how to get into Excel and open a file, create a file, edit a file, save a file. So we're just going to go directly into Excel. And we're going to just go directly into lesson 5, since you should already know how to do that, since we covered that information in the basic Excel course. So what we're going to talk about in this lesson is date and time functions. So the date and time functions that we're going to look at is going to be today, which returns the current date and updates automatically whenever the worksheet recalculates. We're going to talk about now, which returns the serial number of the current date and time. We're going to cover eDate, which calculates a date that is a specified number of months before or after a given start date. We're going to cover EO month, which returns the last day of a month, a specified number of months before or after a given start date. We're going to cover network days, which calculates the number of whole working days between two dates. And we're going to cover date value, which converts date stored as text into a serial number that Excel recognizes as a specific date. So we also had some calculate billing date. I'm just looking at something that I did. Dated if, that's another one. So dated if is another one, and what that does is that tells you the years and the months between two dates. The years and the months between two dates. So, and you can make it either years or either months or both, which is what I did. Okay, so we've got, those are the functions that we're going to be working on in this lesson. And I know there's lots more date and time functions, but if you get the grips with these functions, then you can always look up the other functions, because over here in the formulas tab, they've got hundreds of functions in the formulas tab. And then when you finish the course, if you feel really motivated, you can go in that formulas tab and check it out. So we're going to give you examples of the date and time functions that we just covered. So this is an example of today. If you type today, then you're going to get today's date, which is 15 July 26. This is an example of now. If you type now, brackets, you're going to get the date and the time. Okay, we've got some, we're going to go eDate, which is, so 15 months, so you've got the date, which is 1 August 26, and then so that's going to be A13, and then 15 months from 1 August 26 is going to be 1 November 27. So that's your E date. And then we've also entered 1 August 26, and we type in EO month. So what that tells you is that's the end of the month from 15 months from 1 August 26. And I put those dates in there because that's when the government says I'm supposed to get my state pension. I hope they don't renege on that, but that's when they say I'm supposed to get my state pension. I looked it up on the internet, and I think the internet said that's when I get my state pension. So I'm not exactly 67 when I get my state pension, but I'm close. So now we're going to say how many working days do I have before I get my state pension. So you say network days, brackets A14, which is 1 August 26, to B14, which is 30 November 27. So there's 347 working days between A14 and B14. I don't know if that includes holidays. It might just be Monday to Friday. Maybe it's just Monday to Friday. So I don't know if it includes bank holidays, because if they were going to make it bank holidays, then they would have to make it country specific, because even in the UK, Scotland has different holidays than England, because I think Scotland has more holidays, and Ireland, Republic of Ireland, has different holidays than the UK. So I think if they were going to make this network days with bank holidays, I think they'd have to make it country specific. So I think it might just be the Monday to Friday. And so this is the number of total days before I get my state pension, which from 1 August 26, it's going to be 486 total days between when I get my state pension. So you take B14 minus A14, and that's 486 total days. And then so this date value returns a serial number of the date. So I type 30 November 27, which is, I believe, when I'm supposed to get my state pension. And then you say date value A17, and that's 46721. So that's the serial number of the date that I'm supposed to get my state pension. So we're going to do a little exercise here. So we're going to say calculate employee tenure. So I started working at a job on 1 January 16. So my tenure is, you type dated if, brackets B20, comma, now, that's now, comma, year, Y for year, and years, comma, brackets, parentheses, and dated if, brackets, B20, comma, now, comma, YM, that's your month, brackets, and months. So what that does is that tells you how many years and months of tenure that I have in my day job. So if you only want to have the years, then you just take off the last bit of the formula, and it will only give you years. So another little exercise we have is we're going to calculate the billing date. So 1 July 26 is the date that you sold something. And so the billing interval is 30 days. So 30 days after you sold something, you're going to send them an invoice. So your billing date is B24 plus B25. So that's 1 July 26 plus 30, which is 30 July 26. So you would send them an invoice on 30 July 26. So those are just some little exercises that you can do with date and time. I do actually, like in my day job, basically I have to prepare a training schedule every week, and so I get these reports, and then from these reports I have to prepare a training schedule, and I actually wrote it in VBA, Excel VBA, because the way that he told me to do it, there was no way that I possibly could do it in the allotted time. I couldn't do it manually, so I had to automate it. But I do actually have to use dates in this training report, because basically what you do is you take a date that training is due, and then, so you take the date that training is due, and then you have to compare that against today's date. And so if it's due in less than 60 days, then you get a message saying that it's due in less than 60 days. And then if it's overdue, then you get a message saying ASAP. And if it's due in greater than 60 days, then you don't get a message at all. So for training, this training spreadsheet that I have to use every single week, and I've written a program in VBA to do it. That's Excel VBA. So I wrote a program in VBA to do it. So VBA does it automatically for me because I wrote that program. But if you haven't done a program in VBA, then you would have to do it manually. And that's why I'm showing you how to do all these exercises, all these date and time functions manually, so that you can do them manually. And as you increase in your skill in Excel, you may want to automate some work and do it in Excel VBA. So this is a little project that we're going to do. We're going to create a project timeline. So I did this last night. Normally, I don't make timelines because I'm a one-man band and I just do it. But this is an example of how you can use date and time in Excel so you can make yourself a little project chart. So now we're working on lesson 5, and so when I finish this video and I have uploaded it onto YouTube, I will be complete. So today's the 15th. So I'm just going to say that I'm completed. I'm just going to say that I'm completed, even though I'm not yet complete, but I will be shortly. And I'm going to say not yet started. I'm going to say in progress. So in progress, it's blue. Let's say delayed. Delayed is in red. I'm just doing that just to show you that delayed is in red. So I made this little project chart, which I made it just for this course and just for this lesson because I'm a one-man band and I normally just do it. But if you need to make a project chart for your work or even for your studies, you can make, if you're doing studies, if you're taking a course, you could actually make a project chart on the course that you're doing, because I remember when I did my master's degree, which was more than 20 years ago, I was so excited to do the master's degree that I think I had like 2 years to complete it, and I had like one lesson every 2 months, but the lessons were hard and you had to write a paper for each lesson, and each paper was several thousand words, so it wasn't an easy course. But basically what I did was I was so excited and I wanted to get this master's degree out of the way, and so I kept track of every lesson that I did, because you had one lesson every 2 months. It was that difficult a course. And so if you're taking a college course, you can do this project timeline on your college course so you can keep track of everything that you've done in the college course. If you're taking a university course, you can do the same thing and keep track of all of the things that you have done in the university course. If you're doing something for work, if you're on a project at work, you can create a project chart to keep track of everything that needs to be done at work as well. So this course that I'm working on, it's got 10 lessons. It's going to have 10 lessons. So I've got lesson 1 to 10. And I'm just finishing lesson 5 now. So you have the start date of each lesson. So today is the 15th, so I'm going to say 15 July. So today's the 15th, so I'm going to say 15 July. I'm just going to see what happens if I clear this data. Okay, so basically, whenever you start working on a lesson, you enter that date into the start date, and whenever you stop, whenever you finish it, you enter the date into the stop date. So like yesterday, I started working on lesson 5, and today I'm going to be finishing it. As soon as I finish this video, I'm going to upload it onto YouTube, and this lesson will be completed. So the duration is going to be, if ever, C2 minus B2, you're going to make it blank. But basically, the duration is C2 minus B2. So each course basically, each lesson in the course basically takes me 1 day to do it, because I go over the lesson plan, I go over all the topics that I want to cover, and then I do a few exercises to show the students how to do the exercises. And then so the status is going to be completed, in progress, not started, or delayed. And then so what we've done is we've used conditional formatting to color code the cells. So you highlight the cells that you want to color code, and you do conditional formatting, and we're going to say manage rules. So you can see that I have used conditional formatting. So if it's delayed, it's red. If it's completed, it's green. If it's in progress, it's blue. And if it's not started, it's gray. And so the formula for not started is equals E2 equals not started. And then you go through and you format it, and you pick the color of the cell that you want it to be. And so that's how you do conditional formatting. And so I did that last night for this course. So it's going to be either green, blue, red, or gray, and which I already told you. The owner is me, so I'm a one-man band, so I'm going to be in every single cell. But like if it's a group project, let's say you're in a team, you're in a project team, then you would have different names about who is responsible for what task. So, but because I'm a one-man band, I just typed my initials in every cell in owner. And then so what you're going to do is you're going to color code your chart. So how you're going to do that, again, we're going to use some conditional formatting. So we're going to go all the way down. Well, we're going to do it this way. So you highlight this cell, you go all the way down to lesson 10, and then you go all the way to the right. And then you go into conditional formatting. I've already done it. So we're going to manage rules. And then so the formula that we have is and brackets $1 is greater than or equal to $B2, comma $T$1, is less than or equal to $times C2. And then if it meets those criteria, then the cell is color-coded purple. So I'm not creating a new one. I just did that just to show you how we do it. And you do that with all the cells. And since Excel uses relative cell referencing, if it's the date, if it's that date, if it's 10 July is greater than or equal to the start date, and 11 July is less than or equal to the end date, then it's going to color code those cells. So you can see that on lesson 1, I did that 10 and 11 July. Lesson 2, I did that on 11 and 12 July. Lesson 3, I did that on 12 and 13 July. Lesson 4, I did that on 13 and 14 July. And lesson 5, I did that on 14 and 15 July. So I've started lesson 6. I'll be starting that today or tomorrow. And when I've completed it, I'll put the end date there. And then we'll get some more a timeline. You're going to get a horizontal timeline of when you completed lesson 6. And so for this course, since I've actually started the timeline, just to show you how you can do a timeline for this course, every time I complete a lesson up to lesson 10, then I will go ahead and fill out the project timeline so you can see how far we've gotten in the course. So that's how you do a project timeline, and you can use conditional formatting to color code the cells. And so it makes a great deal of difference to color code cells because we're very visual beings, and it's easier to look at a visualization than it is to look at a lot of numbers on the screen. So it's easier to say, oh, it's completed, it's green, it's in progress, it's blue, it's not started, it's gray, it's delayed, it's red. So we can stay here, delayed. And it's going to say red because it's delayed, but I'm going to say in progress. So basically, because I made this chart for the course, I'm going to go ahead and every time I do a lesson, I'm going to go ahead and complete the chart so you can see how long it actually took me to make the course. And so I've got 3 minutes before I have to leave to my day job. So I'm going to have to go ahead and conclude this video. But this concludes lesson 5. And so lesson 6 is going to be on tables, sorting, filtering, and structured references. So I hope you got some useful information out of lesson 5. And I will be communicating with you on lesson 6.